2016, then second place in 2017. I was ready to really go out after it. And I knew that maybe the competition wouldn't be the most competitive field. So I was very focused on doing my own race to push myself as hard as possible to do the like as good race I could do. And it went very well, and I think when I was halfway up Zombie Hill, which is nearly 30 kilometers on the run, I got noticed that was about 22 minutes ahead of number 2, which is a lot. But at that moment, I completely the bottom just fell out of me. I didn't have what I needed to do to keep on pushing. So I got at the top and won the race with about 10 minutes, but I wasn't happy with my performance. I didn't perform as good as I could, because I was motivated by external factors that I couldn't control. So if I had better competitors, then it would make me push harder. But I cannot control my competitors, so I needed to do something to be able to perform, regardless of what competition I have or not have. Yeah.
Great. That's such a key thing, and that's something we've actually been talking a lot about in the boot camp, is focusing on the things you can influence. So that's awesome. And what I've never actually asked you this question, I don't think. When we started doing the mindset training, what were your expectations going into it? What were you expecting? Like, what positive changes were you expecting to create?
I didn't have too specific expectations, actually. I didn't know how training a mindset actually work, and what result you might get of it. So I was quite open, actually, and so, well, we can just try and see.
Yeah, and we did. We tried loads of different things and techniques and strategies. What have been some of your favorite strategies to implement for mindset?
It's definitely been the way you talk to yourself, like the inner voice, or like I discovered on my 24-hour ride, the external voice, where I went from talking to myself internally to actually telling the world, outspoken, like, Allan, you're awesome, yeah, you're rocking it. Like I was shouting it to myself all alone. But it's the focus on how good you are and what the positive things you're doing, and you can use that positive mind or the positive voice to push yourself as well. So you don't need to be like too gentle on yourself and just let go of the, I don't know, the effort you are pushing before you hit the finish line. So being like this, having this positive self-talk was a major change for me, because I've been quite hard on myself during races in the past, and it's quite common to feel that you're never good enough, or that you should be able to push harder. So in training, you always strive to push harder and faster and be better. And if you just have to acknowledge that at some moment, if your best is not good enough today, it would never be tomorrow. And then it doesn't care if you win Norseman, because you wouldn't be happy with yourself. Or you can take it as far as you want, and even if you win the Olympics, you can be dissatisfied if you have had something that went not optimal during the race. Then you can focus only on that, and that really doesn't take you to a happy place in life. So that's important as well. So it's not just the race results.
And have you used some of the mindset strategies that we did in your triathlon kind of side of life into your family and work life?
Yes, definitely. It's a lot of things you can like take knowledge from in regular life, and it's like I'm married still. And have 2 kids, one at 5 years old and one who's turning 1 on Christmas Eve, and that's really cool.
That's gone so quick.
Yeah,
I can't believe he's already 1.
Yeah, it's like it's insane. So like, but when you if you want factors in your life that you can't control, then you can just get a couple of kids. That's
I can imagine.
Yeah. For like before you get kids, it's difficult to imagine how many things that can be an X factor. It's like if you plan to go out on a specific time, then it's like, I don't want to have shoes on, I don't want to have jacket on, and then they don't want to sleep at night. And when you finally nail the sleeping pattern, then they get sick and they don't sleep. So it's so much which throws everything up in the air, and then it's really helpful to have a mindset where you acknowledge what you can't control, which is a lot of things, and focus on the things you can control. Mm-hmm. So that made especially being a parent much easier, and coping with life in general. Because and especially when with the COVID thing, we coped with it really well. Mm-hmm. Because you have that mindset that like COVID and the things you have to do, it sucks, but it's totally out of your control. So just focus on what is within your control. What can you do within the limits that has been enforced on us? And that's been really helpful, because you're always left out with thousands of options, regardless of what situation you're in. So that's been quite helpful, actually, to have that kind of mindset.
So before we dive into the amazing challenges you've been doing during COVID, which I'm dying to hear more about, would you say the most powerful elements to your kind of like high-performing mindset would then be the positive, productive, powerful self-talk, and then focusing on the things you can influence? Are they like your top 2? Yeah,
definitely. And with focus on what you can, or maybe I can add a third one, like trying to be in the moment, like acknowledge that the road, it's really, really far, but you can't focus on, like now you, like when I was riding for 24 hours, when you, after been riding for 15 hours, that's quite long time to be in the saddle. But if I would focus that I only have 9 hours left, that would be quite a challenge. So just try to be as much in the moment and focus on getting to the next turnaround, which is 10 minutes from now, and focus on being present and staying aero and pushing force to the pedal, and try to relax the shoulders and be so much focus on things you can do, but like try to stay in the moment as well.
And did you going into oh sorry
no I just found it really important, and like I had this challenge on Saturday, which I can tell you more about later. Which,
yeah, that'd be awesome.
this is quite, it was really, really insane, but we got through it.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about it. Before we get there, I just have 2 more questions for you.
Yeah.
When you were doing, actually, well, maybe we should go. Okay, I have one question first, and then we'll go into the other 2. The first one was having done Norseman 2018, and then doing Norseman again in 2019, and you had this incredible race, and you came second. What did you feel with these mindset strategies now, kind of having all of these different mindset strategies at your fingertips to use? How did that transform your race?
Yeah, that was, if for those who don't know, Norseman 2019, from an objective perspective, it was the best performance in Norseman I've ever done. And I was leading the race the last 2.5 hours, and then I was caught with about 150 meters from the finish line and finished second. So most people, or nearly everybody, like that must have been so, I don't know what you call it, like depressing or tough, but for me it really wasn't, and like but people don't believe me, but it really wasn't that tough to cope with, because that was a day where I was focused on the things I could control the whole day. I tried to be as much as possible in my own space. I didn't want my supporters to tell me how far I was back or ahead of the competitors. I would just try to execute my plan as good as possible. And the last leg up the mountain, I was very focused on putting one foot in front of the other as fast as possible. So I did everything right at that time. And when you are so close to the finish line and you can turn back and see that your competitor are just 20 meters behind you, I did what could do. I tried the last surge, and that lasted about 5 seconds, and then I totally cramped up for my in my legs, and I was barely able to get in front. So I nearly fell back on my supporter who was standing behind me. But at that moment, then I knew I've done absolutely everything I could do in that race, and that's what I'm in the race for. I'm not there to win the race. Like my goal is, I obviously said I'm a favorite for the race and I want to win it, but that's not the true goal. It is within, like, pushing my own boundaries. That's what it's all about. And so from that perspective, it was, I couldn't have done it better, and I couldn't have had help from my competitors to push me harder. So it was all I could do. So it wasn't enough for first place, but maybe it will be next time. But yeah.
And how did it feel crossing the finish line, knowing that you had done everything you could do to swim, cycle, and run as fast as possible, and you really did push your limits?
Yeah, it was like a feeling of peace in some regard. Like when I finished in 2018, I wasn't satisfied. I was like, I knew I could have done it better, and like you win and people cheer and everything is like, way. But you're not within yourself. You're not happy. But now it's like, yeah, I done it all, and you can't really ask for more.
Oh, I was so happy for you, and I was literally standing on top of the steps watching this kind of unfold, and like my stomach was churning. So I can't imagine what Jenny was going through as well.
Yeah.
But it was so exciting to watch, and it was so incredible to see you really kind of push your limits to this whole new level. What do you think was your greatest learning from that experience that you want to take into next year's race?
Yeah, I think we could just continue on doing basically 98% of what we did in that race. So like being in being in myself and focusing on what I'm doing, and and intentionally not get the spots or the seconds behind or in front of my competitors was really helpful. So I think we're about on the same track. So the only thing I would change would be like equipment wise, like get another gearing to be able to get the higher cadence up the hills. So it's and maybe try to get a more aerodynamic reflective vests. So that's just the tiny details which could make me if I've done those things right, I wouldn't have lost the race. But then again, I did as best as I could on that department as well in front of the race. So I'm not.
It was such an awesome race to watch. It was so good, and I was just so happy that you finished feeling that peace and that satisfaction.
Yeah,
which is, as you said, that's the best you can do, and that's which is amazing.
Yeah,
so cool.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go on to the pandemic challenges, which we haven't really caught up with, and I'm so excited to hear them. So the first one you did was the 24-hour cycle.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that challenge?
I come up with, I saw a video on YouTube. Some guy in Britain was doing a 24-hour ride indoor. He was trying to get the world record. I think he didn't have the greatest race and quit after 16 hours or so. But like I had a feeling that I could do that. But we don't have a velodrome in Norway, so we just got the first one now, newly built. So then I reckon I'll go for trying to take the Norwegian 24-hour road record, because in COVID, that's a few other people also did that, but they did it on road bikes, and I was like doing my calculations and managed I would break the record if I averaged more than 130 watts. Yeah, but which is nearly half which I'm capable of doing. So I thought it would be quite easy to actually get the record, but it wasn't that important myself. It just see how it would feel to do a 24-hour race, because that's something new. I've done races which lasted 15 hours before, but the 24 hours is something different.
And did you go in with a mental plan as well as a physical strategy?
Yeah. My mental plan, I think it didn't deviate a lot from my regular Ironman plans. So it was the same, like trying to focus on the shorter task and doing the positive affirmations. That was really helpful as well, because if you're going to ride for 24 hours, that's quite long, and trying to just be when the first hours is up, then you're focusing on how far did I get in 1 hour, and be happy with that. So it was just being very task oriented. So the mental strategies worked pretty much the same way.
Mhm.
I found.
Yeah, awesome. And how was it cycling for 24 hours? Were there any surprises?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I think I was surprised that it didn't. I didn't go as slow as I thought I would go. It did went better than I thought it would go in terms of wattage, because when I see that previous 24-hour attempts, they've been quite hard charging in the beginning, like quite a good speed, and then you have seen a very steep decline towards the later part, and I didn't have that in so much. Of course, I became slower and it got tougher, but it wasn't as I don't know. It wasn't as physically hard as I expected it to be. Like it sounds strange, and I'm not sure if it's correct in hindsight, because it's easy to say when you're doing it. But I was doing the last I think 30 minutes. I was pushing quite good wattage, because then I was seeing like, yeah, now you're close to the finish line. Now you can push to see how far you can go, and that was it didn't feel all that bad. I didn't have anything more to give, but I was pushing quite hard the last leg, and it shows me that I wasn't completely in the gutter.
Mm. Awesome. And how was it just riding for 24 hours straight? What was that like?
Yeah, that was it was a very interesting experience as well, and riding at night, and we had rain for 21 of the 24 hours, and it was heavy fog at the night, so I wasn't aware of where in the course I was. Even if I was cycling the same 10 kilometers back and forth, the fog was so heavy I couldn't navigate if I were where in the course I were. So that was quite interesting as well. And then I saw some deers along the road, and I saw some foxes as well. So it was I don't know, it's quite a special experience as well. And when I was doing like this external positive affirmation, I was shouting to myself. That's something I never happened before either. So, but that worked also. I'm quite glad nobody had a film camera, because that would be very embarrassing to watch.
And why do you think the external voice was even more powerful for you than the internal voice?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I don't know, maybe you hear it, like physically hear it, and you can shout it. I don't know, but it felt like some sort of release when I did it. And I guess I started to get a bit lonely as well. I needed to have someone to talk to. It's like I'm quite chatty, like normally and during races, so it got quite lonely.
More lonely than, say, Norseman? I guess you have your support with Norseman.
Yeah, much more lonely than Norseman. Yeah,
interesting.
Cannot be compared.
Yeah.
In the loneliness.
And do you feel that negatively impacted your performance, feeling this loneliness?
Yes, I think I could do better with like I wasn't like I had my supporter with me, so I saw them about each 30 minutes. I had like 15 seconds of support, so that was better than nothing.
Yeah, it's actually because I know I've done a long distance race, but it's something I hadn't considered, is the loneliness aspect of it. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, because I don't know, maybe that's something that needed to be worked on to work more on your whys. Because when you have supporter with you, like on Norseman, then you don't have to wonder why you're doing it. But when you are going out it for 20 hours and all alone, then you need to have a quite clear why you are doing it. if you want
Definitely.
to go
Yes, I guess there are almost no distractions from what you're doing and from being present to that.
Yeah, like the distraction was very few distractions. So you get some time to think, but then again, if you try to be in the moment and be task oriented, then it is a few things that need to be done. You have to fuel correctly. You have to drink when you're drinking, and you be sure you're on the mark of electrolyte intake as well. So like those three things that add up to become actually some task that can keep you occupied.
Yeah, definitely. And so you've mentioned recently that you did this Everest challenge.
Yes.
So could you tell us more about that?
Everest, and now Everest is 8,849 meters. It grew 1 meter during last week. So I was, but I had 2 meters I did 8,850 meters. So I worked on oil rig where I'm situated now, and my oil rig and the construction is standing on 3 concrete legs. Mm-hmm. And you can see this is the board of a map of one of the legs. Mm-hmm. So the one leg you can actually go inside, and it is quite large, and you have stairs. So I started about 80 meters above ground sea level, and was running up 118 height meters. And then I went in the elevator, and the elevator take 2.5 minutes down, and then I ran up again, equivalent to the height of Mount Everest. So that was 75 times up.
Wow, that's awesome. How long did it take you?
It took me nearly 12 hours, so 11 hours and 53 minutes.
Yeah, that's quick. And how did that differ to the cycle challenge?
It was a bit. I think it was physically harder, because you have the elevator down, which you can relax, and then you have the rails along the stairs, so you can use your arms and your body. So when I did the 24-hour race, I started easy and just kept on riding easy as long as I could. So my heart rate was about like 120, but going upstairs, it isn't. If you want to have a good pace, you need to push. You have to go double stairs, or you have to jump stairs, and you use your arms as well. So I was finishing at the top with a heartbeat of 170 plus, wow. which is threshold.
Yeah.
So you can go really hard.
Yeah.
And then you just go in the elevator and then sit down and try to get some drink and food, and then you just go for it again. So that was physically, it was much higher intensity when I was doing it, and because when you have to take just one stair at the time, it goes so much slower. So instead of using 5.5 minutes up, then I used 5 and 6.5. So I lost 1 minute when I did like the 1 stair. So it was definitely a lot to be gained by doing double stairs. So.
And how did it compare mentally?
Yeah, mentally, I would say I found it harder mentally because the physical effort was harder, and it's you can't go easy when you're riding. Then you can coast for a minute when you come in the downhills, but if you coast when you're walking stairs, then you're coming nowhere. So it isn't. It's like you need to be on the ball, you need to have an effort the whole way. So, and you're walking upside this concrete leg, and you don't see anything other than the concrete and the equipment around you. So you can't see if it's daylight or night or. It was night the whole way, so no worries about that. But it's quite monotonous. So you and I was doing it. There was I didn't have that much support, you might say. So it's I was just doing it for me and myself, and then you have some, after when you've done it 40 times, then it started to get physically hard. Like it was difficult to maintain the pace, and then you still have 35 laps to go. So that's like you have been doing it for more than 6 hours, but you nearly have 6 hours left. So that's where you need to try to be as much in the moment as possible. Just see one set of stairs in front of you, and not try to look up and see now I got that much left.
So the present and focusing on those tasks, that was like the key strategy that helped you perform at your best for this challenge.
Yeah, definitely, to be present and focusing on task. Yeah, because it's like my colleagues are quite stunned that I did it, because it's hard if you go up there a couple of times.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So like, and yeah, it's very few people who do it like more than once to walk up there. So it's to do it 75 times. It's something else.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of times. That's a lot of steps.
Yeah.
And
4,000.
Oh my God, it's insane. And I've one of my final questions, then we'll go to Q&A, as you've got to go at 10 too. So while I ask this final question, post your questions in the comment and we'll try and get through them. So while I ask this, put your questions in the chat for Allan. And did you use, to stay in the present moment, did you use instructional cues? So like the key things you had to focus on to perform at your best? Did you have short phrases that you could repeat to yourself to kind of refocus in on the present?
I don't. I think the only thing I was saying to myself, like, stay in the present, focus on getting up one stair. You're just getting up to this place. You're just getting up to this place. Like, and that could be as small as getting up 10 stairs at the time, just to focus getting on that. And like, at some point, I couldn't use my arm as much because I was cramping in my whole back and my triceps. So then you can just try to work on different techniques, going up to share the load of the legs and the arms and the body. So I was so it tried to just be very focused on the practical stuff with like the technique of working going up the stairs.
Yeah, definitely. I absolutely love it. So we're going to quickly move on to questions because we've got 5 minutes left. So the first one is, is there anything you discovered during your 24-hour ride that you'll be applying to your future races?
Yeah, I think the external voice is something that I would do. I hope I'm not too embarrassed to actually use it, but I think I would try that.
Yeah, when we say things out loud, it kind of more powerfully activates those positive neuropathways.
Yes.
Because you're kind of hearing it, as you said, you're hearing it twice, you're saying it, and then you're also like properly like hearing the sound waves coming in.
Yeah, and I can say it myself, but I can also instruct my supporters to go for that tactic. Or yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a great tactic to have. Okay. Oh, there's loads coming in now. Do you use different language or positive statements at different stages of a race, or for scenarios, for example, cramps, feeling tired, harder terrain?
Yeah, I think it's for me it's me and the most other triathletes as well. It's you can go out too hard too early. So in the early part of the race, I try to not use too much positive affirmation in that regard, because then I can get too eager. So I try to be more focused on the race plan or the task, like staying aero and trying to hold my wattage within my boundaries and not go too much out. That's well, yeah. I've got a bit about the question.
No, that's great. Okay, and then another question is, did you use music on your oil rig staircase challenge, or do you use a natural sound for maintaining a sense of rhythm pushing you on? That's a cool question.
Yeah. No, I was wondering about it. No, but I wasn't. I'm actually not. We're not allowed to take phone out on the oil rig. So
Oh.
I couldn't have music, but it wouldn't. I think it would just had distracted me from doing the task, and like it sounds strange, but walking upstairs you need to at least me, and when I got fatigue I needed to focus on being there at being there and focusing on like hitting the stairs right and not stumbling and stuff like that.
And I think the final question is, have you ever used an altitude tent or trained high and slept low before a major competition?
Yeah, the altitude training, it's interesting, and as I'm a Norwegian athlete, I'm not allowed to use altitude tents. So in Norway, you can't use altitude tent, but you can go to altitude. But I never done it. So it would have been interesting to try it, but yeah, it is difficult to organize in a regular life. So there is some interesting science being done if heat training can create the same adaptations, because you can always it's much easier to get that heat training, like just doing a session on the turbo without the fan, and then you're there. So I'm really excited to see what those studies find out.
I actually have a study for you on heat training. It's really interesting. I'll send it to you.
But yeah.
I'll post it in the group. It's a very recent one and it's absolutely fascinating about heat and how it impacts mental fatigue and the difference between fatiguing from heat and mental fatigue, and how you get like this double whammy impacting your performance.
Yeah, is it done in Lillehammer?
No, it was done somewhere else. I can't remember where, but it's an international study. I'll dig it out and send it to you.
Yeah, great.
Great. Well, that is all we have time for. If there are any questions, I can always forward them on to Allan. Hopefully he won't mind answering them for us.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy to do so.
Cool. So before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to add?
No.
You're good.
Just like trying to see the possibilities and not the limitations. Like when COVID hit, I was immediately like, yes, now I can do the 24 hours ride, because it's difficult to get it to fit in a regular race season for me. If I want to perform in Norseman and the other races I want to perform in, then it's difficult to cram in a 24-hour ride. But it was really like a really good experience, or a cool challenge to do. So trying to be focused on what you can do is what I want to finish with.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. It's a great message. It's focusing on the possibilities, which we've also been talking about using like the language and how you frame the world as well. So that is super awesome to end on. Thank you so much for coming on for this like whirlwind mindset transformation show. And if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm at social media. Allan Hovda at Instagram, and Try Allan at Facebook. And I have a blog as well, where you can read a lot about aerodynamic and Norseman and a lot of other stuff as well. So you can just check it out.
Awesome. I will include all that in the group tomorrow morning. So thank you so much for squeezing us in to your work on the oil rig, and I hope you have a great evening.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.